All right, back here in the Frenzy Lounge. Carlo, maybe your first time in here. I'm loving it in here.
I love the Frenzy.
Yes, the Frenzy is outstanding. All right, so Montreal, in terms of free agents, not overly active, right? But they're a young team. This is a process. Like, this is about taking steps forward. I don't think they're expecting to compete for the playoffs this year. They'd like to.
Yeah.
But they know where they are in this process. It's about getting young talent, locking in young talent. They've locked in Suzuki long-term at $7.8 million. They've locked in Caulfield long-term at $7.8 million. And now, word comes out today, Slafkovsky, 8 years, $7.6 million. What do you make of that deal?
Every time I see these long-term deals get handed out to young players with still a year left in their deal, I scratch my head and say, why? But for Slafkovsky in this deal, I say, good for them. It's different. The conversation is different because for Slafkovsky, this is a player in his first year where a lot of people, including myself, said he should have went to the American League. They should have found a way not to be in the NHL because they just weren't utilizing him probably. The development was being stalled. Well, last year at the beginning of the year, it was a slow start, but in the second half of the season, he was a completely different player. Mm-hmm. He had an amazing stretch there post All-Star break. In fact, in 33 games, he had 13 goals and 17 assists. You saw tremendous growth in his game, and that's why I like this deal because I think that growth that you saw in his game is a positive sign that he can take a bigger step next year in his game and could be more of a dominant player. And then ultimately, if that's the case, you get him at a bargain.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've set their internal cap of what they want their highest paid players to be. Mm-hmm. They're going to continue to build around those guys. And for Montreal, it's continuing to find a way to have these younger players develop at the pace that they're developing.
Yeah, they got to figure out, what's going to happen with Gallagher in the future, what's going to happen with Josh Anderson in the future. They got money tied up on the wings, but those are veteran guys that obviously they love, the market loves as well.
Right.
I like this play. It's a gamble.
Every long-term deal is a gamble.
Every contract's a gamble. Yeah. Every long-term deal is a gamble, especially a kid who's still developing because we don't know exactly what Slafkovsky's going to be. You take him first overall. He's been in the league a couple of years. You have enough data here where you can project what you think the floor is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think if he grows the way he did in the second half, at a minimum, you can justify $7 million, 7.5, 7.6. If he blows past that, that's where the gamble's worth it. That's what this salary cap is all about in the NHL. It's a finite number. It's about a puzzle, and they love Suzuki as they should. I think they really like Caulfield. He's got to keep growing. He's got to get better. He's got to fill out his game. He's got to get more offensively explosive. But you get those two guys at $7.8 million a year, Slafkovsky at $7.6. They get into their prime, and they're playing like $10 million guys, $11, $12 million guys.
Around them.
And you can add around them. Yeah. That's a huge win for Montreal.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the thing that excites me about Slafkovsky is I think the early years he was trying to find out who he was and what his strengths were. And that's why in the stretch that he had at the end of the season, you start to see he was figuring it out. One of his biggest strengths is his size.
Massive.
Power forward. And he was doing that. He was using it. He was using his frame to protect pucks, to get to the front of the net, score those greasy goals. He has the skills, and it's exciting to see how much better he can be under the guidance of Marty St. Louis while he's playing with these younger players as they're trying to grow and build around those guys. Look, I'm with you. I think Montreal is on pace. They'll take another small step next year. I think a small step for them would be competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, not a playoff team yet.
I don't think they're there just yet, but they've got a young group of defense. I think they got an up-and-coming, promising young goaltender in Montembeault. So they're slowly starting to build pieces, but now the important thing is find the pieces that can fit with these guys.
Absolutely.
And locking up Slafkovsky is a huge start.
Yep, and listen, their farm system loaded, right? Tons of picks, tons of prospects. More players are coming.
Yeah.
And, they've put a lot of time and effort into these three guys, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky. Now they've paid them. Those guys need to pay off.
Yeah.
But if they do, Montreal will be laughing in the future.